So for my table topics presentation, I was assigned Chapter 5, which is titled Prejudice and Discrimination in Everyday Life. So for this table topics assignment, I found two articles. The first one here was titled High Schoolers Barred from Hockey Games After Crudely Taunting a Goalie. So in this article, there was a female hockey player who was the goalie for the Armstrong High School hockey team, and they were playing the Mars hockey team, and this female hockey player received very explicit chants from the opposing team's student section. So the other team's student section was then banned from the games for the rest of the year, and the principal had said in a quote that the students that had attended the game and were chanting these explicit things were given like appropriate consequences. So this is like one example of gender discrimination that has happened recently. This article just came out a couple days ago. Obviously, hockey we think of as a primarily male sport. Females do play it, and there are female teams, but having a female on a primarily male team is obviously going to get some attention. These students really discriminated against the female, and I'm sure none of the things said to that player were anything good. So yeah, that was the first article. This second article was titled North Carolina Leaders Remain Divided About LGBT Protections. So this article was about a protection bill that's against discrimination and allowing transgender people to use the bathroom of which they identify as. So this bill has been ongoing for a few months now, and these leaders can't come to a clear decision. There has been backlash because of this bill wanting to pass. The NBA has came out saying there won't be any All-Star games played in Charlotte anymore. The NCAA came out saying that there will be no future tournaments held in North Carolina. And then PayPal had a big extension project that was being built in North Carolina, but that was canceled, all due to this bill that is potentially going to be passed. This is one example of sexuality discrimination. Both gender and sexuality discriminations are big in today's news. This article had a lot of the opposing side views, which were a lot of backlash about the bill and why people didn't want it passed. One example of a view that of a person that didn't want it passed was somebody that owns a business, and their religious beliefs are pretty much discriminating against certain people from entering their business, whether it's a restaurant or a store of some sort. So that was this side of the topic. These articles differ because one article talks about the discrimination of sexuality and gender discriminations, where the female was discriminated against and how wrong that was. The other is neither for nor against really, but it has many more opposing views for the bill being passed than it does for the people that are for the bill. No one really in the news is going to report that and say that discrimination is okay. You won't really ever see that in the news nowadays. So the second article was the closest thing that there will probably be about discrimination being okay. This relates to class because the research shows that stereotypes and prejudice haven't changed really over the years. Racial discrimination isn't the only largely talked about prejudice and discrimination topic in today's society. There's also gender and sexuality discrimination talked about. For many years, this discrimination has been okay. So recently, it's a lot more frowned upon. And then also recently, it's up until recently, it was frowned upon for a female to play a male sport and vice versa, but nowadays it's becoming more common. And then a couple questions for the class. What kind of discrimination do you see or hear about the most? Is it racial, gender, or sexuality? And then another question is, are you a person that will stand up to someone if you see another person being racist or sexist?